Hi everyone, today we're going to be learning about the cellular level of organization for anatomy. To begin, the cell theory states the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. It's the smallest living unit. Our bodies have trillions of cells which contain different cell types. They're all different sizes, shapes, and cells of different types serve different functions. So the structure of a generalized cell, it's three parts: plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. To begin, the phospholipid structure is a molecule that consists of a polar phosphate head. So that's hydrophilic, that's right here, and a nonpolar lipid tail, which is hydrophobic, which is right here. Combined, they form an amphipathic molecule. Unsaturated fatty acids result in kinks in the hydrophobic tails, as you see right here. So this also is a phospholipid bilayer. It consists of two adjacent sheets of phospholipids arranged tail to tail, like in this diagram. The hydrophobic tails we mentioned before associate with one another. They form the interior of the membrane. So the polar heads contact the fluid on the inside and the outside of the cell. The phospholipid bilayer makes up that cell membrane. So the cell membrane is a phospholipid bilayer containing many different molecular components, including proteins and cholesterol. So you see some proteins here, and we have some cholesterol scattered around here, some with carbohydrate groups attached. Next is the plasma membrane. It separates intracellular fluids from extracellular fluids. So it plays a really important role in cellular activity. Glycocalyx is a glycoprotein in a glycolipid area abutting the cell that provides highly specific biological markers by which cells recognize each other. So basically your cells are sugar-coated. The fluid mosaic model, it lists here that the double layer of lipids with embedded dispersed proteins are both integral and peripheral. The bilayer consists of phospholipids, cholesterol, and glycolipids. Glycolipids are lipids with bound carbohydrates, and phospholipids have the hydrophobic tails and hydrophilic heads, as we've seen in the past diagrams. So the cytoplasm, it's the material between the plasma membrane and the nucleus. So this is going to be the third component of the cell. The cytosol, which is largely water with dissolved protein, salts, sugars, and other solutes, and it also contains the cytoplasmic organelles. So this is the metabolic machinery of the cells. You're going to see more structures in relation to how the cell works. So the cytoplasmic organelles, they're going to be membranous and non-membranous. So here is a prototypical human cell. We'll go through each and every one of these portions of the cell. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum, it's a winding network of thin membranous sacs found in close association with the cell nucleus. So we have the rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. We have some proteins that are ribosomes here on this rough ER that separates us from the smooth ER. The rough ER is studded with numerous ribosomes, as I mentioned, which are sites of protein synthesis. Smooth ER synthesizes the phospholipids, hormones, regulates cells, metabolizes carbohydrates, and breaks down certain toxins. The next structure is going to be the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus manipulates products from the rough endoplasmic reticulum, right here. It also produces new organelles called lysosomes. And what happens after that, the proteins and the other products of the endoplasmic reticulum are sent to the Golgi apparatus, which organizes, modifies, packages, and tags them. So these proteins that are packaged as new lysosomes, they're sent for fusion with existing lysosomes. So here is a micrograph that shows a Golgi apparatus under that microscope. Here is a mitochondrion. So these are the energy conversion factories of the cell. So the mitochondrion is composed of two separate lipid bilayer membranes. a little bit different than the phospholipid bilayer. Along the inner membrane are various molecules that work together to produce ATP, the cell's major energy currency, and it also contains RNA and DNA. So these are some of the components that are in there. We have the outer membrane, inner membrane, and then we have this intermembrane space and the cristae. This is also another micrograph of the mitochondrion under a micrograph. The cytoplasmic organelles, so the second part we were talking about is the non-membranous. So the three components of the cytoskeleton, they consist of microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. So it plays an important role in maintaining the shape of the cell, the structure, and how they move, as well as the division of cells. So microtubules set the path, somewhat like railroad tracks, needs to be laid down, along with vesicles, organelles, and genetic material that are transported. So microtubules set the paths along which the genetic material can be pulled during cell division, so that each new daughter cell receives the appropriate set of chromosomes. So two short identical microtubule structures called centrioles, which are right down here, they're found near the nucleus of the cell, and they can assist with the separation of DNA during cell division. So that's going to be here. Here's the centrosome. And the microtubules, they make the centriole. So a centriole can serve as the cellular origin point for microtubules extending outward as cilia or flagella. Microtubules grow out of the centrioles by adding more tubulin subunits, like adding additional links to a chain. So here is where it is in relation to the cell, and then a little bit of a closer look. In contrast with microtubules, the microfilament's a thinner type of cytoskeleton filament, and that's actin, which is represented here in this part. This is kind of a bigger picture of what we're looking at, and this is inside. So here's the filaments of the cytoskeleton. So actin is a protein that forms chains. It's the primary component of these microfilaments. So like microtubules, actin filaments, they're long chains of single subunits. So in muscle cells, you can see this diagram right here. It says relaxed and contracted. So they're pulled by thick filaments of the myosin, right here, protein, to contract the cell. Actin also has an important role during cell division. So cell division obviously means dividing cells. So we're going to be having one cell turn into two cells. The final cytoskeleton filament is the intermediate filament. Intermediate is in width between microtubules and microfilaments. Long fibrous subunits of a protein called keratin that are wound together like thread that compose a rope. So it looks very much like this. They maintain the cell shape and structure. They're found in epithelial cells of the skin to resist compression. They also link to other cells to form special cell-to-cell junctions. The third and final part is going to be the nucleus. So the nucleus is the control center of the cell. The nucleus of living cells contains the genetic material that determines the entire structure and function of that cell. So in this diagram of the nucleus, we have the cisternae, the nucleolus, which synthesizes the ribosomes, which again are on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We have chromatin, the nuclear envelope that separates the nucleus from the nucleolus, and we have nuclear pores. So the cell cycle, the two major phases of the cell cycle include mitosis and interphase. When the cell grows and performs all of its normal functions, interphase is further subdivided into G1, S, and G2 phases. So cell division, so it's mitosis followed by cytokinesis. The stages of cell division oversee the separation of identical genetic material into two new nuclei, followed by the division of the cytoplasm. So there's a portion right here as well. So this is G0. This is where the cells aren't dividing. This is the portion of the cell cycle where they're not dividing. A homologous pair of chromosomes with their attached sister chromatids. Sorry, this is going to be this diagram right here. So the red and blue colors correspond to a homologous pair of chromosomes. Each member of the pair was separately inherited from one parent. Each chromosome in the homologous pair is also bound to an identical sister chromatid, and this is where the DNA replicates, and it results in the familiar X shape. So whenever you see DNA and they're trying to solve a murder, something along the lines of that, these are where the kind of windy parts come in and it looks like an X. And that is going to be the end of cells. Thanks.